Look, baby girl, you're so damn fine though. I'm trying to know if I can hit it from behind though. I'm sipping on you like some fine wine though. And when it's over, I press rewind though. Ay, you talking bands, girl, I got it. Benjamin's all in my pocket. I traded in my shoes for some robbers. He playing Batman, Fetty's gonna rob him. Ay, I got a in my Rari. Ay, 17 shots, no 38. Ay, I got a in my Rari. 17 shots, no 38.
Yeah, she's mine. Wonder when she'll be mine. She walk past, I press rewind to see that ass one more time. And I got this soda. Ruby boys, they know us. All fast money, no slow bucks. No one can control us.
Monty, tell me what you see. Is it money or it's me? I smoke 20s mellow. I got honeys in my V. They like Monty, can you be my baby daddy? I'm like, yeah. I got robins on my jeans. You see the wings on every pair. All you see is Remy boys. You know my everywhere. And if somebody got a problem, we could meet up anywhere. Now go say some. Don't you play dumb. You know where we came from. And you don't want sauce, no A1.
I'm like, yeah, she's mine. Wonder when she'll be mine. She walk past, I press rewind to see that ass one more time. And I got this soda. Remy boys, they know us. All fast money, no slow bucks. No one can control us. They think they know us. They can't control us. Man, I got this soda. Remy boys, they know us. 679, this is Zoo, yeah, baby. Monty and the Zoo, baby. Zoo gang on my Zoo, yeah, baby. Hey, yeah, baby. 1,000 on my shoes when I walk through, baby. 10.5 for a walk through, baby. Zoo ganging on my whole Zoo, yeah. And baby, I'm like, yeah, she's mine. Wonder when she'll be mine. She walk past, I press rewind to see that ass one more time. And I got this soda. Remy boys, they know us. All fast money, no slow bucks. No one can control us. Ay, yeah, baby.
Look, baby girl, you're so damn fine though. I'm trying to know if I can hit it from behind though. I'm sipping on you like some fine wine though. And when it's over, I press rewind though. Ay, you talking bands, girl, I got it. Benjamin's all in my pocket. I traded in my shoes for some robbers. He playing Batman, Fetty's gonna rob him. Ay, I got a in my Rari. Ay, 17 shots, no 38. Ay, I got a in my Rari. 17 shots, no 38.
Yeah, she's mine. Wonder when she'll be mine. She walk past, I press rewind to see that ass one more time. And I got this soda. Remy boys, they know us. All fast money, no slow bucks. No one can control us.
Monty, tell me what you see. Is it money or it's me? I smoke 20s mellow. I got honeys in my V. They like Monty, can you be my baby daddy? I'm like, yeah. I got robins on my jeans. You see the wings on every pair. All you see is Remy boys. You know my everywhere. And if somebody got a problem, we could meet up anywhere. Now go say some. Don't you play dumb. You know where we came from. And you don't want sauce, no A1.
I'm like, yeah, she's mine. Wonder when she'll be mine. She walk past, I press rewind to see that ass one more time.
What up, bitches.
What up? What's up, guys? I
what's
like
up?
that song. I like that song.
Good. Yeah. High quality H2O.
High quality H2O. Welcome to another episode of Almost Patriots, guys. This is episode 17. Thanks for joining us today on Year of the Hot Chocolate Snake. So, we got my boy Chris in Indianapolis. How's it going, Chris? Elvis? And my boy
good.
Mike in New York. I think in New York and or Guantanamo. I'm not really sure.
Whoa, we went really deep with that. But Carter's taking
is that
shots
'cause he's
because he
in-
wasn't
he's
here
in-
last week.
Yeah,
He's
I'm
in
coming
prison.
at you guys. I'm gonna come at you
Flu
guys.
prison.
He's in flute prison. You got arrested
yeah,
under
like flu.
flute charges.
Yeah. Flu,
No, it's-
flu.
It's not band camp, all right?
Where were you smuggling this flute, Mike?
I was
Yeah, it's one time at band camp, man.
One time at band camp? Yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I was doing. You're 100% queer.
That's awful. I never want to hear that story ever again.
Hey. American Pie came out like 20 years ago. It's such an old joke. I'm just
Yeah.
repeating. So,
Great
I like
movie.
it.
Great movie.
drinking my hot chocolate from my Saudi Arabia cup. So,
How's everybody?
Congratulations.
Everybody good? Mike, you're sick apparently.
Yep. Yeah, I went to the doctor today. I got they said it was some type of virus. They said it was viral. Like our podcast, which has gone viral a couple of times.
Well, I got to tell you, I'm going to have to tell you that usually when it's a virus, the fact that it's viral is implied. I'm just going to tell you that.
wow.
Wow. Taking shots. Okay. Why don't you go back to your fucking convention, okay? Get the fuck off the
So
fucking
I
podcast.
want to give a big shout out to Yeezy. Shout out to Yeezy.com for this sweatshirt. You can't see it, but it says Bully on it. That's the new album by Ye/Kanye. Shout out to Yeezy.com for sending me the sweatshirt for only
Hold on one second,
$20.
Hey, Chris, you want to give a shout out to another company? What company were you going to give a shout out
First
to?
of all, we don't give a shit about Kanye. So, moving on.
I do.
Whoa. Yeah, but Chris,
I do.
Which company were
They
you
don't
give
give a
shout
shit.
out to?
Yeah,
Shout out Scorpion.
Nazis.
Shout out
Scorpion
Scorpion. there we go.
Percussion.
Yeah, shout out Scorpion.
Shout out
That's the wood that Ricardo likes to play with.
Yep, in Anaheim.
You know what? It's slightly
He likes
larger
to
than
he
the
likes to dip
competitors.
shaft in green goo.
Yep,
So,
we have a slightly larger shaft and heavier dowel than the competitors.
Yeah.
All American-made hickory
American-made shafts
wood.
since 1969. Right.
Yep.
Yeah. Just want to give a shout out to
I don't know how
Scorpio
far back it
again.
goes.
Just wanted to give one more shout out to that company.
Mike, how many quarters did you have to put into the phone machine at Guantanamo to be able to do this podcast? I mean, Trump hasn't even-
Touche.
I'm just wondering. But anyways, yeah, shout out Scorpion Percussion. They're a great company. We just got done going to NAMM, the National Music Manufacturers Conference this week in Anaheim. It was cool. We
Yeah,
had a booth
not
there.
the Vietnam one, the other one.
Yeah, the other one.
Yeah, exactly.
one.
There-
Yeah.
Although there were a lot of Asians there.
Okay.
No, that's a great
A lot of
point.
people
I
from
appreciate
China.
that.
A
Thank
lot
you
of
so much.
companies.
Good segue.
A lot of
Good
companies.
segue, good
A lot of
segue.
companies
Yeah,
from
great
China. Companies from China. A lot of companies from China. But yeah, it was fun. Had a good time. What about you guys? What have you guys been up to this week?
Work.
I won my first dart tournament sober on Sunday. It was tough.
Congratulations. You still lost to
Congratulations.
me, though, so you're not really that good at darts. So the dart players
Why do you lie?
must
In
suck.
my defense, my partner was really good. So I just had to kind of do enough that we didn't lose. But we did lose our first match. We had to go all the way back to the losers bracket and then beat the first place team twice. So,
Oh, wow.
but yeah, it was and also the second place team was hammered when we played them and I was sober, so that helped a lot too.
Well, why haven't you gone pro in darts? Is there like a do you have like a minor leagues or because you're a good dart player, you can make some money off of that.
He keeps failing the psych eval.
Yeah,
I
that's
definitely
it.
could see that one.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, man. It's a drinking game, and I was drunk a lot, so it's I don't know. Like every tournament that I've ever won, I've been hammered, so it's not really something I'm trying to.
Except for this recent one that you
Except
did.
for this
right?
one. Yeah, this is the
Congratulations,
first
man.
one.
That's a really
Yeah.
big one, dude.
Well,
Yeah.
everybody
tough.
likes a comeback story, like when you stop drinking.
Like Kim Kardashian.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, Chris Pratt. I know the exact joke you were going for.
Some wrong kind of advice from a friend right there, dude. That is an evil man over there.
Hey, you gotta do what you gotta do.
No, I'm glad that you did it. That's awesome. I mean, a lot of people are doing that. I got a buddy, Jimbo James. He runs Music is for Lovers. Pretty cool brand out here. If you're out here in San Diego, check that out. He's been, I think, just celebrated a year. Same thing. No drinking, no smoking, nothing. He does parties for a living. He's a DJ too. Pretty good DJ, man. And so and he's having a great time. So there's a lot of DJs are going on. Some of these Instagram shorts that I see and doing these like micro explanations of how they're like, yeah, I used to think, because I would get nervous, that I needed to have at least 1 or 2 drinks, glasses of champagne or like a Rebel vodka before I got on the decks. And, they were like terrified, and then they tried it without it. And then they realized that like they got the same feeling, without the alcohol. And they were thinking that the alcohol was what was bringing the feeling. But what was really bringing the feeling was that experience that they were, able to play their music, and then a lot of people reacting to it. That's just that big assimilation. So,
Ricardo, for you, especially in your industry, doesn't I've always heard that drugs, alcohol also brings out the artistic ability of a lot of people, the creative side of them, and that's why there's like a kind of influx of why it's prevalent in that industry.
I mean, I would say that there's there's a couple levels to this, right? Okay, and so I don't know. There's a lot that goes into creativity, but a lot of creativity has to do with how strong your power in your mind is to use your mind's eye to create a rendering of something that doesn't exist. Okay? And that may be something that you developed a multitude of ways. Okay? What the most common way is when somebody is traumatized and they're, especially at a young age, and their brain doesn't want to assimilate or can't assimilate the complexity of the event that happened, it has to create lies to incorporate it. And this is a huge exercise for your imagination. And the longer, the more sustained the trauma is, right? Usually the more imaginative and creative the individual may be in all areas of certain things, not just...
It's like an escapism. It's like a coping mechanism.
And so, okay, so say I had a great childhood and I just wasn't artistically inclined, but I wanted to be an artist. I think that's the universe telling you that you should not be a motherfucking artist. But there is a lot of use, and so I don't think that's where the sort of the creative comes from. Now, in a productive role, right, when you're not escaping trauma, when you're in a productive role, and I would love for Andre to comment on this too. We'll ask him a little bit about this later. In a productive role, you have to basically get into a flow. A creative flow is a complete opposite of sort of an analytic flow or any kind of research flow. And, there's a lot of ways to do that. Okay. Usually what happens is there's some sort of inspiration trigger, right, that connects with a part of your brain when you were in that flow before. Artists call it, the muse. It's really just like a signpost that sets your brain back to when you were creative. And then you sit down and you use that state of mind to kind of let your ideas sort of flow onto the medium that you're using. And so when this has to be done, you can't be under stress, man, right? Ideal conditions. You can't have financial stress. You can't have relationship stress. A lot of artists are free people because they need that type of environment to deconstruct and rebuild, because that's the basis of creativity, is the destruction and then the recreation. That's the number one basis of it. And so to create that environment or to induce that state of mind, despite all of these external factors, a lot of people use drugs and they work.
Gotcha.
Right? And that's basically what it is. And everyone kind of has sort of a trigger of choice that kind of sets them back in that artistic mood, whatever that may be.
Which book was it, Ricardo? Was it Body Keeps Score that talks about how it's difficult to get into flow when you're, a victim of trauma? Was that Body Keeps Score? I can't remember talking about that. They were talking about how it's difficult to get into a flow state of mind when you're someone who has, traumatic past, like PTSD or whatever.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where the drugs come in.
But if you're talent, if you have, like, for example, if you're not creative, right? Is there a way that you can become creative without using drugs? Is it like, can you learn techniques? Can you learn?
This is actually a topic of conversation in a lot of fields because there are some of the some amazing like writers out there, for as an example, who they're really good because they just wrote the same book like 500 times until it was really good. And there's some other people out there that would say like there is no such thing as writer's block. It just means you haven't practiced enough. Like writer's block only comes from not sitting down with the topic long enough. And again, I'm not saying that's true. You could argue one way or the other. I'm sure creative types would argue that if you're not inspired, then you're just not creative. And I don't know who's right, but.
So, I mean, I can definitely tell you, like, being sort of, what do you want to call, like, a lifelong, what do you call this? Like, Martin Luther, like, kind of feel like I was kind of born an artist, and I've always tried to not be an artist, and it just, like, led me right back to art, and, like, so it made me happy. What I've realized is that everybody is creative, and the fact that we are human beings, it's an innate part of our behavior and our survival mechanism to involve creativity in a way that we can predetermine outcomes that include our survival in those outcomes, and that involves creativity. So if you're alive, you're creative, and so it's my belief that creativity can be fostered in absolutely anyone. I think I think I could teach an animal to play the drums. I'll be honest with you, dude. Right? So it's just like. There is something that is so far superior to the systems that we've created, and that is just part of who we are as human beings, and part of, if you want to look at it evolutionarily, part of our survival to create these outcomes with other people and possible decisions so that we have an outcome where we're survival. And not only doing that, but doing one where we benefit, right? And then you start to see, oh, okay, that's the basis for commerce and for these organizational systems. So all of those things are marks of creativity.
Yeah, Ricardo's helped me a little bit with this, in that creativity doesn't have to be art. Like creativity can come from like problem solving, like in the business world. It's like because I believe for like ever that I wasn't a creative person, and obviously Ricardo has proven me wrong on many occasions. But yeah, a lot of my creativity comes from solving problems that nobody else could come up with a solution to. And it doesn't mean that I had to draw a painting or whatever. Just so I would imagine in the corporate world and in the the lawyer world, like there's probably a lot of problem solving, a lot of creativity, like ways to get around things. Loopholes and all that stuff. That requires a creative thinking. It also requires that you have a kind of a baseline of understanding of what you're doing in order to be able to like create solutions. But
yeah, I got one quick question though. Ricardo, why is your forehead so red? Were you at like the beach?
He lives in San Diego. It's fucking sunny all the time.
No, when he was in Anaheim. Were you at the beach? Did you go to the beach in Orange County?
Oh yeah, dude. Oh Jesus.
You got like it's like
I forgot to turn my light on. What a dick.
Damn.
Yeah, horrible. At least Ricardo pressed the live button this time.
I got a nice little tan going.
Ah!
Oh, holy shit! I can see Chris's face. There you go.
No, God, turn it off. I don't want to see that again.
I know.
Turn it off.
My pasty whiteness is coming out.
Absolutely. So, what was I going to say, guys? Yeah, it's a great segue. One of the things I wanted to say is in a few minutes, we're going to have our pretty much first guest here on Almost Patriots podcast. And coming on the show is going to be a really good friend of mine, a guy who is a brilliant artist, digital artist, regular artist, animator, videographer, photographer. I've built applications with this guy, like, interactive media. We've done everything from like shooting interviews. We shot a rap video down the street. It was pretty cool. This guy, I've known him for about almost 15 years, and we've sort of been, working together in creative aspects, and he's done a lot to help me understand how to use a camera and how to do some editing and just add a lot of tasteful stuff to some of the artistic work that I've been putting out. His name is Andre Cotier. He will be joining us from right outside of Mexico City. And he'll just be hanging out with us for the show and kind of commenting with us on everything under the sun. And if there's any questions you have for this gentleman, he's knows a lot about the creative side of pretty much everything digital, a lot about the AI and neural networks in that field as well. So when he gets on, I'll let you guys know, and we'll introduce him. But until then, let's go ahead and start.
Jeff said, "What about talentless people?
What about talentless people?
Talentless people who are forced to create." That hurts.
Oh, Jeff.
That hurts. That hurts, Jeff.
Jeff, you are not talentless. Oh my God, that's really who they no. Here's the story. All right, cool. What was I going to say? No, Jeff. Jeff is very talented. I think we pretty much shout out to Turbo.fm. Jeff is, he's a really talented guy, man. He's not only on the strategic side, but he has good taste. You check out his Music is for Lovers page. All of these wonderful live performances are done, filmed in real time. But he's only one man. He's got like a bunch of little motherfucking robots everywhere. Yeah, and he's like with some like Xbox joysticks and shit. I'm telling you, this is some crazy shit this guy has. But he does a great job. So go check out that page, Music is for Lovers and Turbo.fm. Shout out Mitch Dodge.
So what are you talking about first, Rico? Going to the...
So let's get into this, guys. So the first thing that we have today is on the confirmation hearing here in Capitol Hill, guys. We had
it's Pocahontas.
Senator Elizabeth Warren and RFK Jr.
AKA Pocahontas.
Yeah, kind of go at it here on some of the issues. At some point, I do believe that RFK basically called out Elizabeth Warren, saying that she basically wants to continue to subsidize and fund these pharmaceutical companies that are causing these really nasty things and pretty much lying to the public. I'm a little bit upset because I believe that she's my representative here from California. And so I don't know.
For a long time.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know.
Elizabeth Warren is a representative from Massachusetts, guys.
Oh, I'm sorry. Who's the one from California? Adam Schiff?
Adam Schiff, yeah.
Adam Schiff.
Get your shit together.
You get your shit together. Get your shit together. All right, guys. Well, let me quick pause because I think Andre just chimed in. So I want to go ahead and let him into the broadcast and get him going, guys. Hold on a second. What's up, Andre?
What's up? Hello, good evening.
Hey, how you
doing? From Mexico and my delicious little whiskey.
Nice. I'm drinking hot chocolate. Today is National Hot Chocolate Day. So.
Oh, that's
and I'm
right.
drinking lovely Gatorade and having a ton of cough drops.
Well, we just had this amazing hot chocolate and like cacao hot chocolate with like horchata all the way to these nice little this little beach in Oaxaca, Mexico. It's called Cipolite with a Z. And so that was very delicious. And
I'm sure that was much better. I'm sure that was much better hot chocolate than what I put through this Keurig downstairs.
Yeah, you put a K-cup in. That ain't hot chocolate.
100%. It's mostly plastic. It's mostly
I was
plastic.
just going to say, it's chemicals. It's basically chemicals.
Well, and Oaxaca is one of the top just kind of states that they produce their own cacao and all their chocolate, from the ground up. There's a lot of these just amazing little small places that just do it all by hand. They have the machine that just kind of like rips up all the cacao, makes all the chocolate, and then you can start doing all your different types of additions to it, like more sugar, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah,
that's cool.
Fun stuff. But yeah,
sounds delicious.
Thank you for having me. Yeah, I'm super excited to join on the fun.
Yeah, we had a little bit of a conversation on creative stuff before you jumped on here, and I actually wanted to see Chris had a question for me. He was saying, being creative, like a lot of people say that they need to use like drugs to get creative. Like, what's your opinion on that?
I mean, I definitely believe that, there is a state of mind that a lot of people want to achieve. I think it goes into any industry. And I've seen it where, individuals would love to take, psychedelics to either grab inspiration or they're coming from a path of life where they're very used to doing that on a micro dose level, or on some heavier stuff to tap into that. But I feel like if you need something to inspire you, I think everybody has a different type of tool set. So people use music, for example, to inspire themselves. That was a heavy factor for me growing up, was just different types of music. Doing lots of like storytelling in my mind space to kind of get there. But music was really important. Going back to things that also inspire you. So if you think about it, it's like, what is like that frequency state that you want to be in to achieve that? Sometimes doing art practices can achieve that state, going into a certain flow. Hey, smoking weed also can achieve, certain states to kind of like free like that stagnant mindset or like a stagnant flow. Or actually, you wouldn't really have a flow, right? You'd just be mentally uninspiredly stagnant. So I think whatever floats your boat, it would be my response. But personally, it's always been the form of music. It can be something as crazy and soothing from like Brian Eno is like one of my top ones growing up with my family. That really helped me kind of break a lot of like that inspirational barriers. And then, my brother introduced me to a lot of like electronic music. So I just kind of like nitpicked what I needed to feel, and then also associate that inspiration with that music or that frequency, so that if you need to tap back into it, give yourself a couple of minutes, just like when something kicks in with any type of drug, and kind of like focus yourself on that perspective. So yeah, everyone has got their own kind of like formula, but I say that you can achieve it without drugs as well. Caffeine helps too. Caffeine helps too. You're like caffeine, let's go for it.
Let me ask you a question. Where'd you get that hat from?
Jesus.
Because I might need to switch up. I might need to switch up my.
He just
tennis,
killed your Mike. He just
setup.
killed your hat game, bro. He just destroyed your hat game.
I might need to switch it up from tennis to that drip right there.
Yeah, that's a drip right there.
So pre drip, or pre use of the word drip. This one, I believe I got it at it's literally in San Diego. Ricardo, I don't know if it's still there, but it's literally called the Hat Store. It's there in Hillcrest. And they would get some decent stuff in there.
I know where it is. I'll show you. Mike.
So the thing about the Hat Store, it really comes down to what type of stock and the season and all that. And during that time, some of this was kind of coming in, right? There's also this other type of hat style. It's almost like the military kind of hat, but like from like more like a Canada type style, or like the older type hats that they used to wear. So there's different ones. Now I think if you're really gonna go for different styles like this one, there's a hat store on Melrose there in Los Angeles. I'm pretty sure it's still there. And that's
I was
where
gonna say, is it still around?
Yeah, you sure?
Is it on fire?
Down?
Well, Melrose isn't on fire. I mean, there's other things on fire on Melrose, but definitely not wildfires. And so that store's probably most likely there, and they have a lot of really good different types of styles, and they last long. So it's a pretty good investment. I've had this for about maybe, what can I say, like maybe over 15 years still.
Damn.
And then I picked up some new ones a couple years ago. So because let's just say I lost other ones.
That's how old Mike's phone. That's how old Mike's phone is. 15
Yeah, that's
years
if
roughly.
Mike
Don't
won't
make
get
fun
a
of
new
my-
iPhone.
Yeah, don't
So-
make fun of my iPhone 1.
So
Hey, if it works, it works.
we were just chatting about Elizabeth Warren and RFK. I put JFK, so I messed that title up. So, but they were like fighting. What do you think about basically, this whole health kick thing? About his whole crusade against the foods and the vaccines and all that. What do you guys think about that whole situation?
Oh man, I have a lot on that, but you guys kick the can around.
Well, I mean, it's just from an anecdotal experience. If you don't look at any of the studies, you look at none of the information. Just from traveling around the world, which I have, I can go to like London. I go to like Vienna. I can go anywhere, eat like crap, and feel just fine walking around for a weekend. As soon as I would fly to San Diego and eat one meal, I'd feel like shit. Like immediately feel like shit. Like, and then even if I tried to like eat relatively healthy, and there's just stuff in our food that just isn't good for the human body, and
Yeah, well,
it's super frustrating.
It's part of our societal like foundation. It's capitalism. Make the cheapest cheapest food with the cheapest products to make the most money to make people addicted. You go around the world and you go to places and you eat their food. It's fresher, it's healthier. Like the chemicals, and they make sure that they ban certain chemicals so you can't put it in the foods for a longevity aspect of your lifespan. So it's just indicative of our society as it goes towards RFK and Elizabeth Warren. Elizabeth Warren, I have a ton of issues with just in general.
What's her motive?
Oh, well, she probably is getting kickback from pharmaceutical companies. That's how they typically all say it. And then they say, no, we get individual, we get individual contributions, or our PACs take money and I don't always use all the money, or I don't know where the money comes from the PACs. You know, there's like all these little schemes that they talk about.
So like money laundering, they're just getting paid.
Yeah, it's a lot of inside. There's a lot of things that go around that are legal. The problem is it's legal the way that they do it based on the laws, okay? But it's in theory, it's basically like if I did it to somebody else, or I did it, they would, chastise you, or they would fucking criminally prosecute you the way that they do it. It's just the way our government is.
Yeah, my favorite one is the nonprofits, don't have to disclose their donors, right? So they'll disclose like some of their donors to make it look like they're disclosing their donors. But there's the ones that they don't want to disclose, they won't disclose. And so they're like, "Oh, look, we don't have to show our donors, but we're showing them, but they're not actually showing all the donors."
Yeah.
Wow. I think that's kind of fucked up.
I feel like
It is.
I feel like she did like a pretty nasty cheap shot at RFK in regards to, deassociating himself on how he makes his money with the lawsuits, and by, doing much more particular lawsuits where he gets a kickback with the law firm that he works with, to do these lawsuits against certain companies, and with all reason. I mean, he should be doing that. I think anybody that wants to run for this position with his extensive experience and knowledge has every right to continue doing that, whether for the side of the government and the whole the country, or for individuals and a like class action type of lawsuit, like the whole Monsanto type of lawsuits and other types of things that are going to be ramping up. And I think that he's definitely in the best position to do
My
this.
favorite, I gotta say this. My favorite was Bernie Sanders fucking grilling RFK, and RFK's
And they-
response was like 2020. Literally, when you were running, you got the most donations from pharmaceutical food companies out there. It was $1.5 million.
That was classic.
He
That was
hit him right
fantastic.
in the nose.
He's
like,
like,
it's,
he
it's
was like,
double
Bernie,
standard.
I know you got $1 million from the pharmaceutical buddy. Come on. Like,
Yeah.
Like you got paid out by my guy, but like
Yeah, but I mean, RFK has been a private citizen this whole time. So, like, Warren's been a public servant. All these other
Yeah.
people that are talking about RFK, like, they're all public servants. RFK has been a private citizen, doing this thing on his own, only making money if the lawsuit works out, right? Because he's,
Well, you
essentially.
get a contingency. So you get a contingency based on a contingency fee based on the lawsuit. Depending on the lawsuit, the fee structure of everything, different story. And then you have the law firm, depending on the agreement that he has, if he's an equity partner with the law firm, and how much money he generates and how much money he makes on that. So the fact that she's supposedly a lawyer, right? She says she has a law background, and she's making fun of him for the structure that's at the law firm is hilarious, because then it's like, well, if you ever really worked in a law firm and you ever really worked in the law arena, you would understand how this stuff works. Now you're just trying to manipulate the people that are out there that don't understand this to make him look like a shithead. And I'm
Can
just
we
in
really
there-
trust her law degree? I mean, she said she's Native American, so.
yeah. You see the meme where she's like, oh, that's great.
Well,
That's
my
great.
my whole problem with her is she plays public like antics all the
Yeah.
time, where she always makes this higher than holier like argument all the time, and behind closed doors or with everything, you look at her actions, it's completely opposite, and that's just frustrates me.
It's
with
the
her.
liberal way, man. That's been the woke
I mean-
agenda lately. It's just
But
you
that's
gotta
a
double down.
politician
You gotta
way.
double down on the insanity.
But that's the
Well, I think
politician
that's just.
way.
I think it's just Warren, anyways. I think Warren's always been that way. I think it's okay to bring in, strong and or, opposite and ending, viewpoints.
Right.
But I think it was great that she brought those points up. I think it's important to talk about those points. But then the way that she, transformed those points, against him, I think is not the way to go about it, because, I say, hey,
Misleading.
look, it's very misleading, and then you start painting him into a box that isn't the truth. I say, hey, keep suing these companies. One, keep making your kickback. Who cares? It's a fucking business too, and it brings better health to people, and it can hopefully curb these really bad habits that we have allowed in our foods. The FDA is a fucking shithole to begin with. Anything that's organic is a fucking lie to begin with. And there's all these laws and literal just kind of back doors into how we sell food and how we use food that is not needed in production. Like, you don't need all these fucking chemicals, for example. You don't need all these dyes. But because we are a huge country with a lot of people, it's easier to make synthetic stuff than it is easier to do it the correct natural agricultural way, which we
Yeah.
do know you can do it the right way, and it can be sustainable, and there's still
Well, it's the
tons of
incentive.
land.
It's the incentive structure in the whole system. It's essentially like we are promoting that behavior by saying like, oh, well, if you can maintain, a profit year over year for a certain amount of time, then we're going to pay the CEO millions of dollars. And so then his objective, his entire tenure, is to find cheaper ways to continue to maintain a profit. And if that means not really caring about whether or not the product has quality, then that's what they do. And that's what they've been doing essentially, in our whole lifetime. It's kind of frustrating.
Absolutely, it's very frustrating, and I think the other spectrum is that nobody wants to, because they probably don't have the means to do it, at least financially, to make any of these shifts, because there is no gain or profit for it.
Right. Yeah.
And that's the sad part. And I think a huge eye opener also has been a lot of these other people. I don't have right now specifics when it comes to the channels or other sources for names, but they do exist. Just people being like, hey, I'm gonna go to this dumpster that's behind a grocery store, or I'm gonna go to this high-end, let's say, store, right, that sells clothing or bags or whatever, right? And everything is in a dumpster. It's not being repurposed. The shelf life is like pretty much, they say it's to save or, to not have people get sick, but they're throwing out stuff that is still usable or still can be used, or at least, put out on other people's tables, right? Or how
They have to lock, like all the restaurants have to have locks on all of their dumpsters so that nobody can get to the food they throw out.
Yeah, but also like even grocery stores, like we have an excess problem, because of just goods in general, foods and goods, and but going back to the whole thing with how they were, the Democrats, or left, very very left, or just have this other agenda. They were grilling RFK pretty hard, and I think some points are valid, like. You can't agree with everything, right? But some points are valid. But what I didn't like was how they were twisting that against him and putting him into this box. That's just not entirely true.
Yeah,
So,
weaponizing all the facts. Well,
Yeah, I mean, another example of this is in recent history is essentially, well, because for a long time, right, tobacco and oil companies had these massive lobbying budgets, and so there was so much stuff that wasn't getting moved because the tobacco industry and the oil industry were preventing things from happening until somebody takes action, like it's pretty much the president or somebody has to actually like put down some precedent, executive order, whatever it is. And the most recent example is the EV industry. But the Bush administration was the one that said, "Hey, car companies, you are mandated to, put a percentage of your profit towards alternative fuel options," which is essentially how Prius and Tesla were even created. And so somebody has to put their foot down eventually. I'm not saying that, who that is exactly, but it's got to happen. Otherwise, it's just going to continue to get lobbied against.
Yeah. All good points, guys. All good points. Good. Thanks for absolutely, guys. Let's move on a little bit. Let's get to the next topic here. There was a kind of an instant topic. We had a plane crash in DC. Not a merry one, but this is kind of in the news. It looks like a helicopter collided with a passenger jet. I don't have too much info on what's going on, but did you guys hear about this?
Yes, totally heard about it. I mean, I think, there's a lot of interesting points. I think when
Well, first of all, just describe what happened for those of us, like for the viewers, I think, who don't know what the story was. Anybody know exactly what happened?
I've watched it pretty closely. Basically, a military helicopter on a training mission had a mid-air collision with an aircraft landing at Reagan International in DC, crashed in the Potomac. There's no survivors expected. They haven't found all the bodies, but they're not basically expected to find anybody alive. It is January in DC. For those of you who've never been in DC in January, the Potomac is probably half frozen. So,
Yeah.
pretty tragic.
Yep. Last time a plane crashed there, it took out the bridge. It was like the 70s, I think.
Yeah, same thing in San Diego. We're very rare. We only had one crash. That was also in the 70s, 78, I believe, as well. And there's certain things that just don't happen in certain areas. And this is like just one of those cases. And I don't have the specifics. I don't know if it's come out, before this. But, is it wrong place, wrong time, or is it like the air traffic control fault type of situation? Because you have to be on
many different scenarios.
You gotta be on the exact same flight, just in space, right? Like on that z-axis. At least for me as a 3D artist, it's that z-axis. To be in perfect sight of that. And I think you have a lot more information. I think because of your experience.
This one hits home pretty hard.
Hold on. So, like if we were in a House committee setting, I'm going to use my reclaimed time and give it to Chris to discuss this with his background. So Chris, please take the floor.
I was do the same.
No worries.
Use my time to Chris as well.
No, you're good. Yeah, so I've got 1,000 flight hours in a helicopter in the DC area. I've flown by the White House. I've flown in that area, and it's really hard for me to believe that a helicopter was flying at the same altitude as an aircraft landing in a Reagan, because there is a route. It's called Route 10. Route 10 goes over the airport, but you're at like 2,000 feet. And there are a bunch of routes around the DC area that allow you to fly relatively close, but that corridor where aircraft are landing at Reagan is basically off limits unless you land at the Pentagon. The Pentagon is the only pad that's close. But I've landed at the Pentagon many times, and yeah, it's pretty easy not to hit an airplane.
Sorry.
Now
So
I know.
What do you think happened?
Think it was
in
on
your
purpose?
opinion.
If I'm being honest, I looked at there's a lot of experience in the cockpit. There's 1,000 hours in the one seat and 500 in the other on the helicopter. They're on goggles. There's only one person in the back. And I will tell you this from my military experience. I don't want to say 60. It's 60 per 60. It's over 50%. I can't remember the actual number, but it's over 50% of mishaps are caused by a significant pay grade disparity in the cockpit. And so it sounds like there was a difference in experience, a significant difference in experience in the cockpit. Usually that means that somebody's more nervous because the other person has a bunch of experience. And I'm not saying that's what happened, but looking at the numbers, that's clearly a case. And then, you know, the AC. Have you heard the ATC video audio? Have you heard the audio?
What is
I heard a little
ATC? What does ATC
The air
mean?
traffic controller
Air-
audio is
air
out there. I've heard the audio, and the tower is like, "Hey, can you see that plane?" No response, and then they say, "Hey, go behind it," and then like 10 seconds later, they crash into the airplane. So air traffic control was aware of what was going on.
They were aware of it, but go behind it. Is that a standard thing?
That's pretty standard. Well, so the
Go-
problem
It is in
so here's the
Hillcrest.
thing: you're a helicopter, so there are different flight rules.
Right.
So VFR, which stands for Visual Flight Rules, means that you're responsible for not hitting other things. If you're flying on VFR, you're responsible for not hitting other things.
Okay.
Now, if you're an airplane landing at night at an airport, chances are pretty good you're not on VFR. You're on IFR, meaning that the tower is controlling what you do. And so the airplane that's landing on the airport, they're technically not responsible for not hitting things. That's not their job. Their job is the tower's responsibility is to prevent them from hitting things.
Huh.
Because have you ever looked at the cockpit of an airplane at night? Nobody's on goggles.
Yeah, no one's on goggles for sure.
Nobody's on
No,
goggles.
Just
Yeah,
flight
but the-
instruments and
Chances are pretty good that the guys in the cockpit of the helicopter were on goggles. We don't fly around DC in helicopters without being on goggles. It just doesn't happen. So what is very likely is there's probably something going on inside the helicopter that distracted everybody on board. Whatever that is, I've been there a million times. Every time I've ever almost had an incident, it's because something abnormal happened on the helicopter, and everybody got sucked into the problem and stopped looking outside the aircraft.
Oh shit.
And
Yeah,
so
that makes
I don't know.
most
It doesn't. The statistics of the individuals on the helicopter don't mention anything about the guy in the back, other than that he's a reservist and he's like 28 with a family. So I don't know what kind of experience level he has. But like from my experience as a guy in the back of the plane, when something happens and both pilots go head down in the cockpit, it's your job to be like, "Sir, put your fucking head out the window. Stop looking at the controls. Somebody's got to fly this plane," right? I mean, Brian will tell you all the time. He used to slap pilots' hands constantly when they would do dumb shit in the cockpit. Brian's a little more out of control than I am. But yeah, it's I would imagine that's what happened. There's probably something that because they just took off. They
Now,
just
let
took
me
off.
ask you a
Something
question.
happened and they all kind of lost.
Do you think that helicopter was on its way to deliver your cold plunge and it just got distracted with directions? It got lost in.
It's stuck in LA Customs.
Yeah.
Bullshit. Refund.
I feel
Well, what-
bad though. Like in all
Chris
honesty,
ordered a cold plunge how many months
I don't
ago?
know. I don't even know at this point.
Okay, go ahead, Mike. Sorry.
I feel bad because it's an unfortunate incident, especially with the individuals that were on the airplane. I believe it was 62 people that lost their lives, and they haven't been able to find anybody. It's an unfortunate incident. I think, I think there has to be in some instances, like at night, outside of the ATC, you have to have other controls, like where you can see and have a little bit better of a vision at night, so you can see other objects flying around. Let alone not just that, birds, other things that could potentially cause issues, like goggles. How much would that really put back a company or an aircraft company?
No, they
Or just-
definitely have them. Yeah, they have
Yeah,
them.
it's like it's forced to have that, especially during those hours.
Yeah,
I
they
guess
just
one of
weren't
the
using them.
I think one of the bigger things that was mentioned a lot in the press, or in the press conference that Trump was speaking about. I don't know if it's part of what they're just kind of pushing with all the executive orders, defunding a lot of DEI products or funding and all that fun stuff. I think one of the more important things is there a direct correlation of DE related stuff with the military, serving, and who was, literally who was in that helicopter and what type of decision making was going on at that time. And as you say, if there's no response from the helicopter to air traffic control, then do they know something that we don't know because of who was in the helicopter and because of certain directives that have been happening in the past administration, or is it just a thing that that's the narrative right now? and right now, who even knows if that's a thing? And they'll probably just drop it once they get more information
Well,
out of who is piloting.
I mean, there's some. So obviously, I've never run for president. I've never run for political office. So I
What?
disagree. I disagree
No
with
way.
Trump's.
No way.
With Trump's.
Come on,
No
man.
way.
So this is one of those times where I disagree with Trump's.
You're not president of Germany.
Yeah, exactly right. The Third Reich, president of the Third Reich.
Okay.
This is where I
keep
fundamentally
going.
fundamentally disagree with Trump's sort of politicizing this a little bit, because I would say within 24 hours of the mishap is not really the time. But again, I've never run for
I agree.
I've never run for office, so like I can only criticize it so much, right? But what I would say is that he's not wrong. If you look at the history of the ATC going back all the way back to Reagan, Reagan fired a bunch of air traffic controllers. They hired a whole bunch of new people, and essentially what we found during COVID was a ton of people retired that were essentially from the Reagan hiring because they never really replaced those people. So there's a whole, and this is not just an aircraft control industry. This is a essentially anything that requires two opposable thumbs and like some really, a lot of educational background and experience. There's a huge void between the boomers and Gen Xers and like millennials taking those kind of jobs. And ATC is just one of those examples. And COVID sort of exacerbated that. Now, Trump is correct. It is a federal job. So I'm sure there's DE policies, and I'm sure there's probably a variable involved. The other one is how outdated that technology is. It's old, like super old. And so
Yeah.
it could it have been prevented if they had upgraded it? Could it have been there's a whole bunch of things. I don't know the answer, but I would imagine
it was
yeah.
brought up. I think all those points were definitely brought up in that press conference to kind of cover immediately what was going on. And at least, look, I think them being active and trying to spit out all the information that they can on an hourly, or bi-hourly basis, I think is super important. Where certain things if certain things are related, or maybe all of them are, who knows, right? At this point in time, I think so far they're pretty open in saying exactly what's going on, and to also support all their executive orders and all their decisions as well. I think that's pretty
Andre,
normal in
Let
politics.
me ask you a question. In Mexico, do you have any issues with helicopters running into airplanes?
No, we do not have that issue.
Okay.
at least, hey, you know what? It hasn't been in the news. I'll tell you that much.
Oh, yeah, I was just going to say, that's another story.
Just saying about
Well,
that.
guys,
only
us-
we have our
guys,
cartels and mafia in Sinaloa right now.
Speaking of jumbo jets, guys, Mike has a story that he wants to talk about, which is
Amazing segue.
Basically, there's I guess, Mike. Do you want to talk a little bit about your?
Absolutely. First of all, she's not 489 pounds. She's 554 pounds. So, basically, rapper Dank DeMoss has filed a lawsuit against a Lyft driver who refused to pick her up. Basically, the driver stated that his low-profile tires, his low-profile tires could not support her weight.
Low profile tire, like he had like a low rider.
I think it was a Mercedes Benz that he was driving or something like that. Yeah.
His tires were low. They were thin. They were low profile tires. They were thin. You could see it actually in the evidence as well. Or in the video.
I know nothing about this, so explain that all to me.
So basically, he denied her, and she was yelling, "Oh, I could get into the car," and he was like, "No." He was like, basically, the safety of my vehicle was the primary concern. He didn't want his vehicle to get screwed up. Now, the interesting thing here is Lyft typically has the drivers are independent contractors. So you refusing a ride to somebody could be a problem. Now there's others that basically say, hey, guess what? It's his car. He has the right to do what he wants. Now this is where it gets interesting. Michigan is the only state in the country with a law banning body size discrimination by making height and weight protected classes.
Wow.
So that's what she's suing on. She's saying that because of her weight, she's part of a protected class. Now, this goes to a bigger issue. When is enough enough?
But
Okay?
what's the obligation of a commercial vendor or provider to meet those needs without specific pre-requested warning? Like
Yeah,
they
but
don't
that's
know.
the problem. So Lyft and all these like ride sharing companies typically have like XL options where it's bigger vehicles where people can typically get in. If they need more passengers, they can get into the XL cars, whatever, or trucks or whatever the situation is.
Are they
My
using it
problem,
for suitcases or traveling? Or, they have like either family or
yeah,
people. They have a lot more luggage to
yeah.
work with.
So the problem I have with this is I continuously look at things like this. First of all, she's got videos online of herself at concerts trying to rap and falling over because she's too big and she can't, like, I believe there was one video I saw where she fell over and literally just sat on the ground. It got to a point where I was getting concerned, like the video cut out. I didn't even see her get back up if she could get herself back up because she was so big.
They
So
should, they
Do
should
you
use that in
think-
court.
Yeah. So do you think? So the real question, Mike, is: do you think that this is an incident that was unfortunate? That happened in a place where there's some laws in place, or do you think somebody put her up to this?
Well, this goes back to a problem with the legal community, in my opinion. These attorneys took this case on because it has to do with dollars. It has to do with the Lyft, the big corporation, and that's what
Really?
happens.
Don't-
Yeah, I think the
It's
problem
typical.
is they look for a name. They look for a case that's so outlandish like this. It will put their name on the map. They'll probably get some money out of this case because it's a big corporation. They don't want bad publicity. So what they'll do is they'll probably try to settle in this case and try to accommodate like individuals like her going forward. I'm sorry, I have an issue with this. She knew what she was doing. If you're a bigger individual, you should have called an XL. You should have turned around, okay, and prepared for this. Instead, you are 554 pounds. You know you're not going to fit into a Toyota or a Honda. Don't call one of those, or a Mercedes-Benz. Don't call one of those at 554 pounds thinking you're just going to slide in the back door like you're going to be perfectly easy. You're going to get into the car. Everything's going to be easy. No, that's not the situation, okay? Also, another thing. Hit a gym. Get skinnier.
Jesus.
This won't be a fucking problem, okay, going forward. You're pushing
Jesus.
your
Mike.
problem onto other people.
Mike on a rampage,
Well,
letting them fly.
I think I do agree with a lot of what Mike's saying. I think which you can boil it down to like accountability. I mean, here's somebody who, look, you are, we're not going to pull our punches here, to be honest. Like, you're fucking fat, okay? Fat bitches be fucking talking all the fucking time. And you know what? I love fat bitches. I think they're fucking amazing, dude. They can fucking talk, man. They want to put you in a fucking corner. They want to beat you up. And you can't do anything about that. I think there's a lot of, beautiful things that can come out of it. But this is where what's not beautiful out of any of that type of body situation that you got going on there is that you don't want to be accountable for a lot of different things. That's
it's like-
that's the reality.
The problem
And-
is,
No, I think it's okay. Like, I think, look, like, there are dudes that are fat fucking dudes too, and I believe they can probably, most likely, the majority of them, take way more accountability, are way more honest about their situation, than the ladies that have a weight problem. It is a problem.
Yeah.
Now you can embrace that problem, and you will choose, and you make a choice to not fix it. And eventually you're going to say this is not a problem, and that's fine. That's within your own little world. I think that's very acceptable. But the accountability with all that is, hey, I'm gonna get into this low rider, like physically impossible car, and I'm gonna force my way into it, or I'm gonna make a very big situation out of it, because you feel like you have to do so.
well,
Now,
what's enough? So if Lyft turns around and says, guess what? We have a weight limit that you can get into a car. Let's say it's 600 pounds. You're going to get
I
somebody
agree.
that's 700 pounds that's going to say, well, that's discriminatory against me. And then when
carry
they change it to 700,
carry a
it's gonna be
scale.
800.
Carry a scale,
Yeah.
like.
So
But
it's
you gotta bring your receipts with you sometimes, in these cases. But here's the reality about the footage in the situation. The Lyft driver was actually very polite. He's like,
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I can't attend you. I'm gonna cancel it. It's not gonna charge the person. And period. Like, he was very, on the footage, he was actually very polite. I do believe that, hey, if you want to like, if there are situations that you want to mitigate and not have it be a legal problem, yeah, I believe you need to have those type of situations there. It's like, hey, Frank is gonna pick you up, and he's got this type of car, and his weight limit is this much. I think that's totally fair. It's not discriminatory in any way. It's a fact. It's a reality. And if you don't want to be accountable for your own situation that you're creating, which in this case is her own weight, let's say you have a bunch of luggage that exceeds that weight. You're putting yourself and the driver in danger because of that weight. Let's say you're going over a speed bump, or there's a pothole in the road that you didn't see. Whatever the case may be, you're putting yourself and the driver at risk for that weight limit. If you want to break it down to a very logical, situation, right?
Mm-hmm. But all these companies have all different options. They have the XLs, they have the small, they have the car sharing where you do multiple stops.
There's even
all
one
these
for
different
pets.
options.
Yeah, there's one for pets. Yeah.
So at this point, it's like, why wouldn't you take the option, which is a bigger vehicle because it's more money? Well, guess what? I got news for you. If it's more money, but it accommodates you, I'm sorry, you have to choose that option.
I do Uber XL here all the time because I don't have access to a vehicle all the time. I've sounded off the carry. It doesn't weigh that much, but I'm like, I'm not going to force a normal Uber, right, or a normal size car to fit my subwoofer in their back seat. I'd rather pay that little bit of extra and be accountable of my luggage in this case, and be fair, to the actual.
I think that the pendulum in sort of this sort of victims mentality that we've been experiencing over the last 5 or 6 years has swung so far, and people, and look, obviously if you want to be fat, I don't really give a crap, but the problem with a lot of these sort of minority people, not minority like the way they look, but like minority, if you're overweight, you're actually kind of in the majority almost at this point, but people that are just kind of expecting the world to fit into their narrative, and expecting everybody else to accommodate whatever ideology that they want to live in, and that's not how the world works. And so I think that's currently the situation we live in, where everyone's expecting the world to revolve around them, and it's a rude awakening when you find out that the world doesn't revolve around you, and it's tragic, honestly. I mean, I feel bad because like if you order Uber XL does not mean because you're fat. That's not what it's supposed to stand for. It's because you need more people. That's what it's supposed to be, right? Yeah. And now we're basically saying that you need to order Uber XL because you're too fat. But that is something that you have created with your poor habits. You know what I mean? So like now, if you're upset about it, that you chose that way, and now the world's gonna change to fit your narrative, and we're gonna say that if you order Uber XL, it's because you're fat. And
look, like you go, girl, for trying to make your life work within those choices, and you are not a victim because you have made those choices, and you're not a victim because you have to take accountability of your actions, especially within that. And it goes for everybody. I mean, look, you can be a fucking heroin addict. You shoot up, you're gonna be a fucking toothpick, your teeth falling out. You're not a victim, my friend. Like, you chose to do that. Like, you chose. I mean,
I know a guy that has a diamond on his hand that's like that.
Oh yeah. Well, he typically when he goes to Mexico, they have to get him an XL Uber because he's just too big for the small ones.
Well, he's probably fat. He's probably fat in South America. I bet you when you go home to Uruguay, you're probably
fat,
I
was just gonna ask you.
Yeah,
he's got too much luggage. Look at this.
I got some luggage for you guys right here, buddy. Speaking of,
hold on. On that note, though, I do want to say, because I think Mike brought up something that was actually pretty interesting. I think, you fucking lawyer guys, like, you got to hustle, man. Like, and that was a pretty good hustle. That was a pretty good hustle to be like.
But this gives it the bad name because there's already so many lawsuits out there. Because we live, like, the U.S. is the land of suing.
Tort.
But it always has been. And is it going to change? Who knows? Maybe in the next 4 years, maybe there'll be a little more accountability.
These are the type of lawyers that we can't stand to deal with because at the end of the day,
ambulance chasers.
Exactly. That's exactly what it is. And did you see the press conference where they're out in front talking and like the entire time?
Yeah, like
I was
they're
sitting
her
out-
they're her
I-
best friend. Like they've been
Dude, I
been
love
for fat
their
women
their
their whole
their
life.
mo, and their hustle, man, is fucking
Yeah.
spot on.
Yeah, but
I'm
you also
gotta
have to
give
be
props
good.
to
You
that
have to
for
be good
sure.
attorneys, though. That's the thing. You have to be good attorneys and back it up.
We will find out.
Well, with the law in
We'll find out.
Michigan, they have a good case. Yeah.
It's
They'll probably
Michigan.
settle,
It's
if they have-
Michigan.
They'll probably
It's
settle.
Michigan.
They'll
They'll probably
for
settle,
sure.
or
Yeah,
they'll win
they
the
settle.
case. Or
Yeah.
yeah, they'll probably settle.
All right, Rico,
But
what's
maybe
next?
Maybe they'll win the case. Yeah.
All right, guys.
that.
I forgot my segue now. God damn it! What did we say? Oh yeah,
on.
speaking of excess baggage, have you guys heard about some of these blue cities here trying to not comply with some of the immigration rates? So we've seen like Colorado, we've seen some places in New York, we've seen a lot of different places in the U.S. where we've had some of the bluer liberal states, the governors and the mayors saying that they're not going to comply with the raids. Raids are happening, I believe. You know,
All over, yeah.
Yes.
all over. Looks like there's
All over the place.
planes, yeah. So I'm not sure. So I was wondering, like, what's the legality on this? I mean, like, is this just like a political statement that these guys are doing? Like, hey, yo, I'm not going to do it, and then they show up with a bunch of fucking guns, and they're like, never mind, do whatever you want. Is that kind of how it's going to go down? Like,
No.
what's the legality?
No,
on this?
no. I think.
No.
Well, I think I think we got to break it down into like a couple of. I mean, it's all aggregated. Let's say, right? All these points. It's definitely a complicated issue. It's not complicated with this new administration. Why? Because all of them have legally broken the law, and by
Yeah.
breaking that law, they do have a criminal federal or a federal crime. So yeah, so they have a criminal record by breaking that. So there is a lot of like funny shit going on when it comes to the press conferences and everything else. That everyone's like, well, they haven't committed crimes. Like, no, they did. It's a federal crime. They committed crimes, and the narrative with the press doesn't matter which way you lean. Let's just say like the question is, are you deporting just illegal immigrants that have criminal records? Well, just those two pieces of information already convicts them as a criminal with a record, like literally. So I think the narrative has to change with a lot of these different questions is, are you deporting people with a record that has to do with, murder,
Violent
rape,
crime. Yeah, violent crime. Yeah.
Exactly, violent crime. Thank you very much. So that's like, I think a narrative shift that has to happen within the press in general. Doesn't matter which way you fucking lean. Who cares? You want to go in the lazy chair and lean fucking backwards, or you can't, or you forget the little Asian lady who can't see the road. Want to, lean forward to see better. Doesn't matter which way you lean. The thing is, phrase the question a little bit better, because if we go into a logic battle, you're gonna lose with this administration. So, which is fine. You got to give the facts like extremely, straight about it. So that being said, right? So, yes, the majority of violent criminal and collateral, illegal immigrants is going to happen. I think that's totally fine. As we talk about that, and as we mentioned that, how fast did Colombia fold? And it was like 30 minutes. They sent 2 planes, and again, quickly if I'm wrong on this information, but they sent 2 planes of illegal immigrants with, violent criminal record to Colombia, and the president's like, "Fuck you," and they're like, "Oh, really now? Well, let's just change the whole ballgame."
Because they want to sell. They don't want any more heat. They're trying to bring drugs into the United States. They're like, yeah, man, we're cool.
Yeah.
We're cool.
Yeah, no, but then they comply because of the consequence, because a lot of goods from Colombia go into the U.S. and they know this. Like, there's no financial benefit financially for the country to bar the responsibility of their people going into the country illegally and still committing crimes in the U.S.
Absolutely.
So I think these are all just different points of the aggregated spectrum of it has to happen. I'm sorry to say it does have to happen. If I was illegally in the country, and if I was boisterous, aka I wasn't laying low, which in the past that was the case. You were there legally, you were working job, you were working the farms. You weren't making noise. You weren't committing additional crimes already from being there illegally, right? You just wanted to work and get some dollars and send it back to your family, whatever the case may be, right? Everybody laid low, but no one's laying low because of sanctuary cities and everything else. I'm not saying it's a bad thing. I think there are cases where you are being persecuted in your own country because that country is definitely going after you for thinking a little bit more freer than the country allows. And those asylums, I think, are good and correct. I also believe that immigration with very talented people from other countries, which was a very big boom for the U.S., I think back in the 60s, 70s, also 80s. They brought a lot of talented
We
people
talked
to
about
go to
H-1 visas already. Yeah.
Yeah, we did. We talked about
exactly.
H-1B.
Yeah.
Those are good.
So-
Yeah, exactly.
So
What
I
do
want to go. I want to go back.
Anyway,
I want to
yeah.
go back. I'm sorry. I just want to
Go
go back to. Sorry, Andre. I just want to go
Okay.
back to
think
Ricardo's statement. So what happens to blue cities that refuse to comply with ICE raids? So first, blue cities don't have to, especially sanctuary cities that have sanctuary laws. They don't have to assist ICE.
No,
So-
they legally do not have to assist.
They
it,
do
but-
not have to. And the ways they get around it are a couple ways. They prohibit the local police departments from providing any assistance, like traffic support during an ICE raid. However, ICE
Can't bar them.
ICE still has the ability to send its own agents to arrest people in cities with sanctuary policies without the involvement of state or local authorities. Do we want them involved? Absolutely, because sharing information to get illegal immigrants out that have broken the law or committed serious crimes, obviously we want their help to execute what they're trying to do. But going back, sanctuary cities, based on the laws, they don't have to comply. Now, there's a caveat to that, though. Federal funds, federal money. So if the sanctuary cities don't want to comply, the federal government can turn around because they have money. They can say, we're going to withhold X, Y, and Z money from you going forward, or we're not going to allocate this money to your state anymore. And that's a way that they can do it. Now, states like California are, the federal government gives tons of money to, so it's a little bit harder. Other states, same way, but they still have the right to do that. So that's it's gonna be a very interesting issue going forward, because I know California took a ton of precautions and measures that they are trying to pass so the deportations don't go forward and local police departments are not heavily involved helping ICE. But there are a lot of police departments in California right now, and a lot of local town police, sheriffs, all this stuff that are actually heavily involved and doing certain things. So, like, they're literally doing ICE raids in New York right now like crazy, and it is insane.
Absolutely. Well, I mean,
It's insane.
I think when you take this other side of what just happened, just within a couple of the past year, with the past administration, I think how a lot of people, I think, after seeing this, viewing it, and analyzing it, they have this "how dare you" mentality. How dare you give all the financial reason to temporary, status to immigrants when your everyday tax-paying, American is fucking suffering.
Yeah, agreed. I agree with that 100%.
And cost of living, cost of goods. Yeah, it's a how dare you mentality. Now let's kind of look at it from a little bit of a different perspective in regards to jobs, right? So I think that sentiment is shared. There are there's work everywhere, man. There's so much fucking work everywhere.
Yeah, I
And
agree.
We are in a place where you can learn a new skill and a new job easily and efficiently. And again, you may have to do a little bit of hustle to get, those jobs. The issue is a lot of people don't want to work certain jobs. That's the reality. It comes from our next generation of young adults. That's one other fucking issue. Not issue, but just something issue as an issue to talk about, not an issue that's
Yeah,
a
but
big,
but
big
those
issue,
jobs
but could
those jobs
snowball
should go
to a
to
bigger issue.
legal immigrants. Like your point is
I
100%
agree,
taken,
100%.
but The problem is that we can't really distinguish between the two. There's a lot of taxpayer drain on immigration, period,
Yes.
and a big tax burden on illegal immigration, right? Because now, who's paying for all these ICE people to go around and deport people? I mean, that's all federal funding, right? It's all taxpayer dollars.
Yep.
And obviously
Exactly.
people are upset
And
about if
hopefully-
Trump's using it in that way, but like realistically, this wouldn't have been a problem if, like your point at the beginning, all those people that are legal immigrants, just because they've never been charged with a crime, doesn't mean they don't have a record. Clearly,
true.
they came in the country illegally, they committed a federal crime, they just haven't been charged. They haven't been charged, right? So
We got old
dude,
school.
let
We
it go,
got
man.
we got old
don't
school
fuck-
Ricardo. We
Yeah,
got old
fucking
school
Ricardo's
Ricardo calling.
on the mic again, man. Get away from the
I'm calling
microphone, you
911.
fucking clown.
I'm calling 911 for you. You okay?
You gonna make it?
So I agree with you 100% on all that. I think the biggest thing there is just like, yes, if you have every legal manner to be there, you have a plethora of jobs to choose from. Now, if I don't think there'll be zero collateral damage of legal migrants, because
So
they're
I was
legal.
gonna
Well, they want to be there.
And
So this is what I was gonna say.
Yeah,
If
they
you
are.
go
They wanna
through-
be there.
If you go through the Port Authority, you do the correct way, right? I have much respect for you.
Mm-hmm.
If you come here illegally and your expectation is to stay here and to live life, I understand why everybody wants to come to America, and I understand why you desperately want to be here. Do it the right way. Just my grandparents came from Ellis Island. They went to Ellis Island. Took them a long period of time for that to happen, and before they passed away, they were very proud to be Americans. Same thing with these,
Fuck yeah.
Same thing with these people. Yeah,
Effort.
It's a process. It's a hard process. Okay, it's not an easy process, but it's still a process that you have to do. You're taking the road. There was that video of the Haitian migrant that was arrested for, I think it was what was it, sexual crimes or rape or something like that.
Yeah, he was a
And
gang member.
He goes,
Yeah.
and he
Yeah,
goes,
a little bit of
and
everything.
he's screaming, "Thank you, Obama. Thank you, Biden. We love you. I'm never going back to Haiti." And it was just like, where do we live in that people think that like they're entitled? It's their right to be here, even though they break the law. They do all this stuff, and these are the worst type of people that come over. Like New York, they just arrested the Venezuelan gang leader that was taking over the apartment complexes in Colorado.
Jennifer
And,
Lopez.
Oh God! Wait, you unmuted yourself and you're not coughing.
Get your insured
Yeah.
fat ass out of
Yeah.
there. Totally
So
kidding.
my whole point is,
She's fine.
she got arrested, but like a couple.
She got
weeks-
arrested. He got arrested.
No, it was
Mind
it was
control.
he, and then
I hate
excuse me, it was the other
the-
one, the female that was on Instagram where she had all cash full, like she was literally on a bed with a bunch of money, and it was basically from, I think it was like the benefits that she had. It was a ton of money. At the end of the day, there's a multitude of culprits here. It was the last administration just giving money out left and right. Nobody has any responsibility. Everybody was okay to be here. And then it's this entitlement mindset. And I'm happy what's going on right now personally because it shows that we're trying to take our country back, do the right things, create law and order. And we need that because for the last how many years we have lost our way and it's not a good one. We have struggled as a society and we need to go back to our foundation. And I feel like this is just one step. Now, it's just one step in a long process, but we're doing it correctly by doing one thing at a time.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think even without any of the plug words about taking our country back,
Uh-oh.
just doing the common sense
There we
thing.
go.
I mean, I think if there was a party called the Common Sense Party, I think even more
Absolutely.
people would be there. That's the reality of things, and I think people voted in that direction because they're like,
Hold
a lot
on, hold on.
of loud
Andre,
voices
your
that
microphone's
don't
acting up again.
Oh, let's see here. 1 2 1 2 1
That's-
2. Is that better, or is there something?
Nope,
back?
that's better now. There you go.
Okay, good. Awesome. Yeah, I think I may have hit something.
Stop fucking shit up.
or
Let's
something
go.
of That nature. Dude, I'm in Mexico. I got cheap furniture. No, actually, all the furniture here is either made out of cedar wood from the ranch, or it's actually from France, from the great grandparent migration.
Wow.
Gotcha.
So speaking of migrations, which is for me is a huge topic. So I'm from Mexico. I'm also from the U.S. I have both passports. I also have an extended passport for France as well, because of the kind of like the grandfathering in of the French migrants to Mexico. And in our hometown, we had a really good relationship with the embassy, with the French embassy, and honoring all of that as well. So let's say, within quotations, I have 3 actual, citizenships. I pay taxes in Mexico. I pay taxes in the U.S. In France, not necessarily because I don't really have a presence there. But if I did, I would have to pay taxes there as well, and I do. Because sometimes they're late, sometimes they're on time.
You said sometimes they're late.
And sometimes they're late, but I call the IRS. I'm like, I'm so sorry. Can I just pay you a little bit now and pay you a little bit? Like, yeah, sure, go ahead. And I do without any penalties as well. You guys,
We lost them.
gotta be accountable.
That happened again.
Yeah.
Like you're under attack by drones.
again.
Little tiny sombrero wearing drones that are entering the micro. That's
All right,
better,
1,
dog.
2,
That's better.
test. Okay, good.
Yeah, I'm
So, so yeah,
definitely get
so
what you're saying for sure. Absolutely.
Well,
Go ahead.
yeah, so like as a migrant, I think that's family of migrants. I think a lot of us, do have that from other countries from a very long time ago, and living both in the U.S. and in Mexico. There is a lot of even topics happening right now because of what's happening in the U.S. currently, and it's gonna be a lot of shit hitting the fucking fan
Absolutely.
right now, for the U.S., for Mexico, and for collateral damage of
Today,
countries.
they just imposed
And-
tariffs, 25% tariffs on Mexico and Canada. That just went on like a couple hours ago.
Yeah, and let's see what that happens. Maybe they'll drop it down a little bit. You never know. You don't know what's going to end up happening, with these scenarios. But one of the big things even now is a lot of coastal tourist areas are saying here in Mexico, whether it's writing or whether it's certain type of people or services, they're like, go back. Like you wanna drink your margaritas on the beach? Yeah, no, fuck you, not here anymore. Like there is a very small movement going on in a lot of touristic culture areas. I think Mazatlan is a very big one, in the sense where, for example,
So, like, what you're saying is there's like you sense
dude.
some animosity and pushback to some of the action.
this now what's going on right now is definitely going to increase that animosity. Mazatlan has already experienced this even the couple years ago. So in Mexico, dude, there's banda. You got fucking banda, man. You got people on the beach blaring their trumpets and their drums, and this whole amazing social community. And the tourists are like mad. They have the audacity to go up to the banda and be like, "Can you like go somewhere else?" Like, no, fuck you. Like, we're gonna do our fucking music. It's gonna go to 3 in the fucking morning. We're gonna do our cubas, we're gonna do our chelas, and we're good to go. And we're playing here all night long. And that's what they do all the time. Just because a tourist is gonna complain about the culture that happens on the beach, of course they're gonna be upset that they don't want American tourism. If you're gonna go, embrace the culture and no
Yeah.
complain. Like, if you're gonna go, try something new and have fun. If you don't want to do those things here in Mexico, then don't do it here. Go somewhere else, or create a scenario that's lovely and nice for
Yep.
you. So a lot of this animosity is happening. And so I think there'd be a lot of cultural pushback for American tourism on coastal
Yeah.
areas. So that's just part of the collateral.
Some of that negativity, I definitely feel it could be brewing. That's unfortunate, but we'll see how it all plays out. Speaking of cultural rigidness, this Chinese DeepSeek here that was released kind of crashed our markets, and Mike had a segment he wanted to talk about Chinese info wars and DeepSeek. I don't know if anybody knows what that is, but that was a Yep. A
I do.
Chinese AI not open source. I think open source AI system
Open
or
source.
yep, just kind of like
It's
It's presently open source.
rivals
Yeah.
Chat GPT, Dolly, and all these different things. And it was crashed the markets, 17 to 20% drop in all of these different things. But apparently the big skepticism on this is that basically their privacy policy that you agree to, if you look at it in writing, says that they basically are recording all of your keystrokes, like all of your choices, like all of your input, all sorts of really crazy data. And that's what you're kind of giving up in order to use this for free. So this seems like it's under review right now as being like a big privacy concern for the United States. It is a Chinese company, and it seems like they just, kind of launched it. But so have you guys heard about this? What do you guys think about this?
yeah. So
Mike, do you want to kick it off? Because I do have some thoughts about it. 'Cause I do use AI.
Mike,
on a
Mike,
regular
yeah,
basis,
let's have
and I
Mike
did
kick
do
it
some-
off, and we'll just go around. We'll go Mike, Andre, and then Elvis.
yeah. So the bigger issue I have, which I wanted to bring up, is twofold. Because it's the same thing with TikTok as well as this new app. So first of all, it's the number one app in the App Store. Basically, it just shot to the top. My issue with this, just like TikTok, is the fact that this app also has ties to the CCP. Now, the owner it's owned and funded by a Chinese hedge fund called High Flyer, whose co-founder is Liang Wenfeng. There's been stories about his connection to the CCP. There's been stories about how this information is being collected and where it's going. And once again, it's another issue where we are sitting there knowingly having ideas of what's going on, what the CCP is trying to do, and Americans, just in general, just continue to say, okay, I don't care. I'm going to download this app. I'm basically going to give away my information. It's not going to, a lot of these individuals believe that this information is not going to hurt them in the long run. And it's never going to happen to them. The problem is it's a data aggregator, just like TikTok. It's trying to influence your ability. The one thing on DeepSeek, which was very interesting, was the algorithm wouldn't identify as Taiwan as being its own individual country. It said it was a Chinese territory. So my problem is continuously, we know these are Chinese entity-run companies. Okay?
I mean, but I would have done that too, though. I would have done that too. Yeah.
Yeah. So my whole thing though is we continue to download. We continue to think that it's not that big of a deal. When I personally believe, and in my opinion, and there's a reason why there's national security threat labels on these apps. There is a national security problem. So you have to start really turning around and thinking of what you're actually giving to these apps and what you're doing. And for me, this is just another indication. This app is just another indication of Americans, just in general, not reading between the lines. And I hope they do it a little bit more personally, because it's one of those things where it will become an issue long term, because these countries are trying to diminish the way of life of Americans, and they're trying to topple a government for a gain of their own. And we have to be smarter as a country and realize this. And we already have ChatGPT. It already is working great, and it's already making progress. Okay? Now, DeepSeek, are there issues behind it? Yes. Do we really know if they really only took $6 million to develop it? Do we really only know that they went on over older chips? We don't know that. That's what they're telling us. Okay?
I feel like DeepSeek is like using a prostitute that sells your DNA to companies after you finish the interaction.
I quit. Yeah, Andre, go ahead.
I believe Ricardo has a really good point there, in a weird way, yes. So one thing about DeepSeek is that it's also open source, so you can run it on your local machine. It takes less power. and it has, let's say, curtailed a lot of the heavy lifting. So a lot of companies that don't have all the correct, let's say, hardware / infrastructure to run big models has a much more easier way to run a more efficient model locally on your machine as well, without having like a big like NVIDIA crazy like GPU process
good, yeah.
unit to process
Good to know.
that data. So if you do it locally, you could totally turn off the internet, whatever else, it's locally, and that data wouldn't be shared. Now, please research this on your own, but in general, that is something that's also why a lot of the stock also dropped too. Now, if we talk about data scraping in that sense, and dude, I mean, come on, let's talk about Facebook. I'm not gonna fucking call it Meta, whatever.
Meta.
I'm so sorry. They Meta, whatever you want to fucking call that shit. It's like the stupidest marketing shift they've ever done. They ruined the whole name of Meta. In the gamer scenario, Meta is just like, hey, this is like the meta thing that you do. Like this is the group that you do, or the skill set that you do, or the card build that you do, or the team build that you do on this map, whatever the case. That's Meta. They completely destroyed that name. Very upset about it. But anyways, they legally own that name for their company, and it fucking sucks. But anyways, Facebook and company, and all the things that they did, they've been doing this for years. Anyways, so I guess the question comes down to, a lot of people are not going to educate themselves in what the software is gaining on their actions, and a lot of people don't fucking they don't give a flying fuck. Keystrokes is that's new to me. I did not know they were actually recording that, and Keystrokes is terrible because that's where you can accidentally, in a drunken phase, type in your password or any other sensitive information, and it's still recording it because you have legally bound them to actually record that information. So that's a big issue. When it comes to that, I think it's okay to record the final input that you're giving.
You'll have to,
model,
you'll have to look it up, but I'm pretty sure it is, man. I think I saw there's a, what do you call it, a X post that had it like highlighted, like, and maybe it was fake, but it looked like they've kind of keystroke and shit.
So the big thing with Facebook Messenger and the whole point here is that, dude, when you sign up or when you download just Messenger, that's not the Facebook app. It's not any of their associated buyouts, like even like WhatsApp is now owned by Meta and all that other fun stuff. I think even now TikTok is officially on Meta servers as well after the whole shutdown and reactivation. So with and there is a channel that does review this. You can look up Facebook Messenger. Was it like Facebook Messenger? Call it conspiracy, or you can call it what will be like the correct word for that, privacy or something of that nature. But basically, you're giving up all your access information, which then gives permission of all the data that you are connected to through other apps. So if you have Messenger activated,
it's like cross-platform, allowed to like your cross-platform browsing and everything. Yeah,
cross devices. So if you have your printer connected to your phone, or if you have other Wi-Fi networks, it's you have legally bound the data to be shared with Facebook. That all these physical devices like Wi-Fi channels, routers, printers, anything else or even like Bluetooth devices, most likely as well, are all coordinated and triangulated, and that is
that's
sent
awful. That's
to
a nightmare.
well.
Yeah.
But so if you talk about data, Chinese data, or an app.
Yeah, like
data
we're already
for
doing it. Yeah, it looks like we're
CCP.
already doing that stuff already. So most people don't know that. So and they,
and even if they did, like what? Like are they gonna like stop using it?
No,
Gonna,
it's free.
I think
people are gonna still use it.
It's free. It communicates, and there's things like Telegram, which I think that the CEO got arrested for Telegram related stuff. there's Signal. Like there are other platforms to communicate and be encrypted safely. But the sad part, as soon as like a company buys it out, then that encryption is definitely, and the data scraping and the messages are definitely at risk at that point. That's why they arrest. I don't know more about the details in regards to like the Telegram CEO, but he was arrested because he did not want to comply with certain U.S. laws with that messaging platform. So definitely do your research.
Nice, good information. Good information, man. Chris, what do you think? Chris, what do you think on this, buddy?
I mean, I'm kind of with Mike. It's the same thing as TikTok, man. Chinese are monitoring all your shit, and they're not being subtle about this stuff. I mean, not declaring Taiwan as a country is in line with their vision of the future. The region that directly borders Taiwan, or basically across from the water from Taiwan, is the name of their newest aircraft carrier. Their anniversary is coming up, and they've essentially said that China is in a hole until all of its subordinate countries are back in the CCP. Taiwan is on the list. I mean, they're not being coy about this at all. They're essentially saying that at some point in the future they're gonna fold everybody back in, and it's not good for us. I mean, like TSM, they're the biggest semiconductor manufacturer in the world essentially, and all the NVIDIA shit is made by something from TSM. So like, I just, for me, like as somebody that's been in the military for a long time, and that doesn't even really matter, but like, I don't want China to be involved in my shit. I've never downloaded TikTok. I'm never going to download TikTok. I'm never going to download free whatever the fuck it's called. To me, it's you're giving access to a foreign country that has bad intentions, and we know they have bad intentions. Like it's different when you kind of get sucked into something and you find out later that it was malicious. China is not. They're obviously malicious. They have never been shy about it. They've never been coy about it. They are purposefully trying to steal our technology, purposely trying to, involve themselves in our politics and destroy, democracy, because they don't want democracy. And to just volunteer that information for free it's fucking insane. It's insanity to me.
What do you think is the end? So I know that there is like intent, right? And let's call that a malicious intent. But do we know what the end goal is with that data? Because the data has to
not good, whatever it is.
I mean,
well, it's to manipulate the entire population.
So pretty much,
it's to manipulate knower patterns. It's to influence, kind of where everybody. That's what their plan is since day one.
So pretty much to create a data set in which they can then somehow influence and control with that data set, that would, that covers their agenda per se.
Absolutely.
Yeah. I'm definitely. I agree 100%. There is something there. We just don't know. What
I mean, so like,
but it is
from a behavioral standpoint, like this is like easy. So basically, they're just like farming like trends. Right, and the more data they can get, they're like an AI model, right? The more they're actually going to learn, right? And what they're trying to learn really is behaviors and to find trends, right? And they're also trying to test which ideas, right, and why catch virality and are being accepted in what groups for what reasons, so that they can also craft and manipulate whatever ideas, whether it be advertisers or their own fundamentalist ideas, into the same types of information as they do in China, where you can't download anything cool. You can only download stuff where like Chinese people are like winning at everything. Yeah, exactly.
No, like whatever.
Like, holy shit! Like I didn't know the Chinese people invented breakdancing. You know what I mean? Like, but like it's just so from a behavioral standpoint, this is much more valuable. They can print their own money. China can print it.
You know what? At this point, I'd rather China invent breakdancing than fucking Rega, and I'll tell you that fact right now.
That's definitely not going to happen. That's definitely not going to happen. Well, let's move
No,
on.
that's
Chris has a
All
yeah.
jokes
Let's move
aside.
on. Chris has a leadership topic this week of following. Tell us a little bit about that, man.
Yeah, so obviously humility is very important in the leadership world. Being a good follower, it's not possible to know everything. It's literally not possible. So if you're a leader that thinks you can control every aspect of your company and you can be the expert in every category, everything, you're doomed to fail. It's not possible. So you need to incorporate your subordinates and their expertises into your team, and obviously, for Mark Ricardo knows. I mean, I have friends that are entrepreneurs that have started businesses and stuff, and it is a slog. I mean, you're working 20-hour days for the foreseeable future, and if you don't have an end goal like selling the company or handing it down to somebody else, you're essentially giving up all of your free time for this vision, and it's really not sustainable. I mean, props to Elon. I don't know how he does it because he works long hours and he works like 7 days a week basically. And so if you're a leader that can't let go and can't empower your subordinates to do their job, to take over when they need to take over, you're in trouble. Honestly, you're in trouble, and you're gonna miss out on a lot of opportunities because. And this is a belief of mine, and you can argue if you want, but I think that the two most important things for like a CEO, essentially, for like a C-suite leadership, right? Setting a vision for the company and training your replacement. Those are your two biggest primary functions. I love how I did that.
Yeah, you got the balloons.
The balloons. No, training your replacement, and you can't train your replacement if you don't empower them to lead in some aspect, right?
I agree with that.
It's just one of those things that I feel like is undervalued in the leadership world. And to me, if you're going to build like a pyramid, a leadership pyramid, following would be the basic building block of any leader. If you don't know how to follow, then you can't lead.
Yeah, I agree. I think following also goes under the poise of also respecting, your leadership as well, and vice versa. I mean, you also have to also respect your followers in those types of positions. I mean, I think some of it is a little bit more fanciful and ideological because of money and paychecks and all that. But if you were to take away money and paychecks away, yes, I mean, there is a level of respect and humility on both leadership and followers as well. And I mean, somebody who has lived through a lot of different, let's say, industries and jobs, not only being a follower to something and also being a leader to something, whether it's something of my own volition or something that I'm hired to do, there is a level of respect. You got to take accountability because sometimes you fuck up. Sometimes you're like, you know what, this idea doesn't really work very well. Or somebody on your team, who is, quote unquote, beneath you, or somebody that doesn't hold a higher level of status, either within a company or within a position of a group, can humble you or can provide an idea that is way more efficient than what you thought, previously. And you need to embrace that and be like, hey, you know what, you're right, that is way better. Let's solve that together. Let's bring that to the foreground and let's act upon it, because that is way better than whatever the fuck I had, to begin with. And when you do that, it puts at less risk not only your position, so aka less ego, right, and absolutely more humility, as you said, and also gives you way more bigger prospects on who you want to train in the future.
I agree. Good. Well said. Mike, what do you think, buddy?
I think it was pretty much well covered, to be honest with you.
Nice. Yeah. Thanks, guys. Well,
Yeah.
let me thank Andre for joining us today. Thanks, buddy. Really appreciate you having you on your show and getting your opinion on stuff.
Thank you.
Glad you're doing well down in Mexico. Try not to get,
Yeah.
you know, I
And
don't know.
don't dysentery. Don't get dysentery.
Yeah, or there's a volcano. There's a volcano nearby. I think that's the big case.
Yes, there is. Yeah, yeah, a lot of ash when it happens, but I mean, you know, mild. But yeah, for the most part, like here in Mexico, if you're not looking for it and not involved in shady shit, just like everywhere else in the world, it's not going to come
Nice.
looking for you. That's the reality. You know, here in Mexico too, we have a beautiful community of like conscious eating and conscious kitchens, and conscious restaurants as well. Going back to the whole thing with RFK, there are beautiful solutions to be healthy here, and you know, there's a community that we are also a part of and that we want to grow with, and we also are, you know, giving them a space to grow in as well. And I think that, you know, one thing that harkens all this is always start locally, always start with, you know, friends, family, especially that have the mindset, and, you know, to improve any, you know, situation, start locally. And going back to leadership, you know, if you're not seeing something that's not happening, do it for yourself and for your family or those that you care about around you, or those of the same mindset, you know, in a small area, and you'll just see it naturally grow. And eventually that poise that you had to be the leader, it's going to just create other leaders as well. And I've seen it, I've lived it, and still doing it today. So I think so. Anyways,
Thanks, man.
you know, if you look for it, it's going to happen, and it doesn't
Yeah.
really matter in which perspective. So look for it, it's going to happen. Feel the dreams.
Appreciate
David,
it.
Feel the dreams.
Appreciate it, man.
Appreciate it.
Thanks for joining us, buddy. Take it easy.
Cheers.
Likewise.
Cheers.
Cheers.
All right, guys. Cool. Chris, you got another topic going on?
Yeah, it's kind of going along with that sober dart thing we started talking about at the beginning, and something I've been thinking about a lot lately. And just some of it's anecdotal, and some of it's just, you know, the literature's out there as well. I know that you and I, Ricardo and I, have talked a lot about this, where you're like trying to, you know, quit something maybe, or set like difficult goals for, you know, like our New Year's resolutions. We talked a little about that. It's important to notice like the changes in your psychological and emotional state. And I'll use an example, right? So this year I've been trying to like really cut back on the drinking to the point where like I'm really only trying to do it almost when I'm in San Diego once a month, and maybe a little sporadically outside of that, but for the most part only when I'm like with my friends, right? And it's not easy, right? Because I'm also trying to fast once a week. I'm trying to like go to the gym regularly. I'm trying to eat healthy, and I realized that I was definitely feeling like a little bit low, right? Not depressed. I don't really get depressed anymore, fortunately. But and so honestly, this weekend I went and played darts every day this weekend sober. I played sober dart tournament on Friday. I played a sober dart tournament on Saturday, and I played in a sober dart tournament on Sunday. And it was simply because I needed to get out of the house and go socialize and
Good for you.
kind of get comfortable with the idea that I don't need to be drinking to be out and about. And obviously, for those of you who know me well, I'm not a social butterfly. So when I'm sober, I'm a little quiet and reserved. Go figure. I know, right?
And also, you're a reservist. How
yeah, look at that.
convenient.
But that's something important. Ricardo and I talked about this a little bit too, because Ricardo, for those of you who don't know, quit Adderall, right? And he was
Blow
struggling.
his spot up.
He was
Blow
struggling,
his
right?
spot up, Chris.
Well, no, and so we've talked a lot about it. Ricardo and I talked a lot about it, and one of the things that Ricardo kind of doubled down on is the DJing thing, right? Because like you need the oxytocin, you need the social aspect. If you're trying to do something hard and you're also trying not to be social, it's going to make it 1,000 times harder, right? And I've always told Ricardo, what's the rule? One thing at a time. And so
Yeah.
if you're trying to like quit multiple things, you're gonna fail. It's just not that we're not built that way. We're not built to try to quit, like break up with your girlfriend so you're not getting laid, and then quit drinking, and then also eat less and work out more, and oh by the way, do that without your friends being around. Like
I
I
tried
mean,
that. I tried that. It does not work. It
no,
does
you're gonna have a mental
not.
fucking breakdown. Yeah,
Bingo. It's not fun. I mean, just or just really forget how to do all of those activities that you left behind and how much they brought to your life in the first place.
yeah. So my recommendation essentially when it comes to this, if so, whatever it is, if you quit smoking or you have a New Year's resolution where you want to lose 10 pounds or whatever, then when you focus on that thing, try to remember the things that you do that bring you happiness and bring you peace, and make sure that you incorporate that into whatever it is, whatever model it is that you're trying to quit or trying to fix in your life or change or whatever. Because if you don't, it's just a matter of time before it all comes crashing down and you fall back into whatever bad habits that you used to have. Or so.
So yeah, like I was reading about this thing they called like this narcissist crash, right? And it's like they're starting to like kind of like now they do more research, they have like longer term data, and it's interesting. And so like I think the data applies to sort of like these DSM style narcissism, which I don't really want to use as an example. But
DSM style, what is that?
The DSM-5. Remember?
Oh, okay, yeah.
Like the
Diagnosed
narcissist.
yeah.
We're talking about. But like I think that if we take it, because we know, into everyday life and like try to see how narcissism might be like secretly affecting us just by this whole thing, right? And like so, the narcissist breakdown basically is that at some point, the narcissist will reach a point where all of his activities or her activities, right, that from seeking external validation will sort of dissipate in the amount of like dopamine that they can actually produce, right? And there'll be a crash, and there'll be a lonely crash that happens because none of the activities that the person's mentality has been, or the conversation has been, have been ones that have been to build the self image, right? And so this is like a sort of a transformation that kind of happens, and so I think it's interesting to do this, and I'm not saying you have to be like a complete narcissism to do this, but I think that we have things that we possibly use mentally to compartmentalize that may be like mini acts of narcissisms that we do within ourselves, and some of these things kind of catch up with us, right? And they don't totally devastate us like these studies do, but like
Functional narcissism.
yeah, exactly. Like sort of, I hate to bring the word ignorance in, but sort of like when you're like internally like ignoring something, that's sort of like I feel like the formula for that has some functional narcissism in it, and that's why some things will still catch smart people from under the rug, right?
Correct.
And so like so take a little like internal look at that too, I would say, from that, and just I think narcissism is something that all of us have to battle. It's part of having consciousness where we can envision ourselves into the future. Narcissism is a part of that. It has to be a positive future for your mind to want to continue to move forward, so that's going to be part of everything, so you got to manage it.
So you're gonna quit the flu, Mike? Is that gonna be your New Year's resolution?
Yeah. For New Year's
That's
resolution.
pretty hilarious.
Yeah. No. Yeah. When you do things that are difficult, I think it builds character. I think a lot of
100%.
people, in general, when things get tough, they get nervous, they get scared. If something's hard, push through the fucking wall, get there. If it's in life, if it's not hard, you're not making any progress. So the effects of doing something hard build character, it builds yourself, it builds self-esteem, it builds confidence. And sometimes maybe you take too many tasks on and might feel overwhelmed. But once you start getting those tasks done and you realize that you got them done, you'll feel so much better. And for me personally, I have so many personal goals that are extremely challenging that the stress on me sometimes gets me nervous. And that's just personal. That's just going to the gym, trying to put on 15 pounds. That's just making sure I get to the gym 6 days a week, doing my meal prep, watching my godson 2 times a week, or going on 4 dates a week, 5, with Chris's mom.
4
if you
dates a
wanna count
week.
that.
Damn,
At
must be nice
5,
to live in New York.
4 dates a week. No wonder you're complaining about how
Yeah, 4
expensive
days
it
a
is.
month if I'm
Yeah,
lucky.
bro.
No,
You
but
need
it's
to, like,
just a multitude of things.
Just don't
So-
shoot. Don't shoot at everything.
Don't. What do you mean? Don't shoot at everything?
I mean, I think it's self-explanatory.
No, I want to know what context you say it in.
The context that I just said it in is the
Must be a target-rich
but yeah.
environment there in New York, I guess. Shit.
So the effects of doing something hard, it builds you. It builds your character, your confidence. It's a great thing, and just keep going.
Yeah, so see, for me, like, and I agree with you. I always try to kind of encapsulate, some medium ground between like just tie up your bootstraps and just suck it up, and like you're a bitch, like there's some middle ground in there, and so I feel like I have definitely been one of those people, and I feel like Mike, you've been there too, and I'm sure you have in some capacity, Ricardo, but where I like my younger days, I was definitely one of the like pull up your bootstraps and just suck it up and go. And I got out of the Marine Corps after 13 years because I was essentially a functional alcoholic and miserable and super depressed. And I mean, that's my mental breakdown in some capacity, right? And it's not healthy for sure. I mean, I feel like, there should be some of that, especially in your youth, like in your 20s. If you're not working hard, then what are you doing? I really like, I forget the guy's name, but he was basically saying like, when you're in your 20s, you should only be in your house like when you're sleeping. Like you should be out all the time, and it has a direct correlation with your success, especially professionally and romantically. And I feel like it's the same way, man. Like if you're not like just driving down hard in your 20s to like accomplish whatever goals you're doing, you're missing out. You're definitely missing out for sure.
Well, I'll put it.
I want to
this
make
way,
before Mike, before you start, I just want to make it one of the things that it's important that I didn't know at my 20s is that those goals can be the things you love.
100%.
Those goals can be the things you love. 20-year-olds out there, they don't have to be what you think or what you may think or what they teach. They can be whatever the fuck it is you love, but you gotta double down.
If you're picking something that you love, then you gotta lace up your bootstraps and like dive into it and commit to it 100%.
Yeah, I just want to say this last piece, and then I'll let you guys speak a little bit more. It's okay to have fun while still doing hard things.
Hard shit. Oh yeah.
Yeah. You still need to find time where you enjoy yourself, where you're enjoying your life. You can't consistently just keep pushing yourself and not enjoy the spoils of war, your successes. You gotta take some time. You only have your youth once. You only have your health once, okay? So you gotta take advantage of those things. You gotta go out. It's funny. My entire life, I always pushed myself. And I was like, okay, when I get to a certain point, I'll stop. I'll take this vacation. I'll do this. I'll get married. I'll have kids, yada, yada. That was my whole goal. Then all of a sudden, I realized from my 20s to 30s, I just kept pushing myself to a point that I wasn't really enjoying myself as much. Now, I met Ricardo, and he kind of opened up my eyes a little bit and told me, hey, let's do this trip. Let's go here. Let's kind of have some fun. Why don't you come here? And I kind of let my guard down, and I started really like enjoying my life. You have to enjoy little things. You have to have fun. You got to take advantage of the little things in life that you're never going to get back. Working hard is great, but enjoying yourself and having memories are more important in certain perspectives.
Yeah, I agree with that. Have fun while you're doing it. That's always been the thing in the Marine Corps. It's like we work hard, but we play harder. It's always been the thing, and it's to the detriment sometimes, for sure. I was definitely a functional alcoholic for a long time because I partied too hard. But yeah, you gotta have fun.
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good one. Let's see what else we got left on the docket, guys.
I just want to say there's nothing to do with this topic. I heard something today that made me laugh super hard.
Yeah, yeah.
I was watching something about Michael Jordan, and they're all talking about how Michael Jordan's like the hardest worker ever, and blah blah blah. blah. And
And
the guy was
Kobe.
like, "Well, yeah," but it was just funny because the guy said he's like, "I'm just glad Michael Jordan was 6'6", because if Michael Jordan was 5'6", he would be the best serial killer ever because that motherfucker was crazy."
Oh,
I was
damn.
just
Yeah,
like-
exactly. Yeah.
I was like,
yeah,
"That's
yeah.
awesome, dude."
Oh, yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
we're all just glad he's tall because he played basketball and didn't kill people.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you have to be like, there's got to be the, any kind of drive mentality. You just like, what is it? People are like, oh, addiction is predisposed. Like, of course. I was like, well, that's how we survive. We get addicted to shit. But when you get addicted to the wrong shit, that's bad. Yeah, it's not like addiction. It's just like, oh, yeah, that's not good for you, right? But like, you addicted to eating, right? That shit's good for you, But if you do it too much or whatever, you're addicted to waking the fuck up and and sex and everything. So there's all sorts of addictions that you can't get addicted to the wrong shit.
Yeah, addicted to killing people was bad. That's on the list of bad things.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Oh yeah.
I mean, no,
Sometimes.
I mean, not everybody.
Sometimes.
No, I don't
Sometimes
think
it's
you-
okay to go ass to mouth.
I don't think. Yeah, I don't think you should go around
What?
killing people. No. There's
From
plenty
Clerks
of
too, man.
plenty of
Sometimes in the heat of the
space.
moment. Sometimes in the heat of the moment.
No, murder is horrible. No.
Hey, Rosario Dawson or whatever her name is.
Rosario,
Rosario Dawson. Yeah.
shout out
She says that.
Rosario Dawson.
Dawson.
Who is this?
Clark. You ever seen Clerks 2?
She's in the 25th hour also.
Oh,
Yeah,
she's
Rosa-
Edward
Rosa-
Norton's.
Quite spectacular. Yep.
Yeah, she's the one that was
Edward Norton's. Yeah.
in Clerks
If you're-
2. She's like, sometimes in the heat of the moment, it's okay to go ass to mouth.
If Rosario, if you're out there, message the show.
Yeah, for
Yeah.
sure. 100%.
You can come on as a guest.
Huge fans.
I'm curious to see what the clip says.
Yeah.
Rosario Dawson goes ass to mouth. Let's see.
No, that's awful, Rosario. I did not say that about you. It was all
I'm just
Chris.
curious what the AI.
We
is
can
gonna
keep him off the
generate.
show if you come on. Anything else crazy? I don't think so. That's
We're
pretty
gonna
much
talk about
it.
Chinese New Year, or are we gonna skip that?
Oh yeah. Talk about the New Year. Okay, so
This is
the
It's just
just
funny because
shit
this is
on-
one of those. This is one of those examples of some because we talked. This will full circle the whole thing, right? So we talked about creativity at the beginning, right? And something that's always fascinated me about like creative types because like I've always been pretty analytical, very like engineering mind, mathematical mind sort of thing. I never see the metaphor in anything ever. It's like that's not how my brain works. And so Ricardo's constantly being like, "Oh yeah," and I see what's his name, the doctor. He's always seeing like the metaphor in every
Wait,
Peterson.
do I-
Peterson's
do I-
always seeing the metaphor.
do
in
I
everything.
wave around like Gavin Newsom like that when I'm like, oh yeah, oh yeah.
Well, so I was thinking about the Year of the Snake, right? I mean, it's like Year of the Snake, cool, okay, blah blah blah. And then I was like, let's look some stuff up, see what it says. And it was like, oh yeah, it's all about shedding your previous, existences and shedding like all this shit. And it's like the new you thing. And I have been thinking about the Year of the Snake all week, and not once did I ever be like, oh yeah, it's like shedding it's like a new thing, new you. I never thought about that until somebody else pointed it out to me. Basically, what my point is, I'm metaphorically retarded, which is kind of weird, right? Like
Yeah,
I do that. Yeah.
The irony. The irony.
The irony, yeah. But anyway, so the Year of the Snake, right? It's supposed to be shedding ego, shedding your excess, whatever, and which is perfect because we've talked a lot about New Year's resolutions, and so I think that's kind of the objective here, like with the Year of the Snake, right? Whatever it is that you want to get rid of, let it go. I mean, Ricardo talked about just like deleting one of your friends from your freaking Facebook or from your phone or whatever, like every year, right? Shed some of that baggage, baby. We talked about a 500-pound,
I just said
maybe should
contacts, not friends. Like you
Whatever,
just
you know what I mean.
clip them down so that you know which ones. Yeah.
little haircut on the
Yeah.
sides. Yeah. No, it's new you. Cut something out, whatever it is. Cut something out. Maybe it's Oreos. Just get rid of them for 365 days.
Maybe it's a husband. Get rid of him.
Oh, wow. That's dark.
Man, so like when we, Chris and Mike, when we went to that Music is for Lovers, shout out Music is for Lovers, what's it called, Halloween Jam over at the Prado, the old Prado in San Diego. I took a handful of mushrooms and I had a fantastic time. But like when I closed my eyes, the visuals were all about like snakes and reptiles. It was really weird, and I had no idea it was the upcoming year of the snake or anything like that. I thought it was like, I was like, that's not good. You know, like it wasn't like I didn't get a bad feeling from it at all, which is weird. No anxiety or anything. It was really just kind of like visually what I was
Sick
seeing.
and tired of these motherfucking snakes.
Yeah.
And my motherfucking hallucinogens.
Yep. Cool. I thought it was going to be aliens, but that's just because I think everything.
You're the alien. I don't think that one's on the
Ricardo.
list. Yeah.
Ricardo, by the way, show off the new tattoo. Show everybody what you got. Ricardo got a lab-grown diamond drawn.
Diamonds are forever.
Yeah.
Diamonds on
Dub-
forever.
Beers.
Dub beers. Yeah, it's pretty dope. Shout out to Zane over at Holy Cobra Tattoo that did it for me yesterday. He's the man. Holy Cobra Tattoo. Shout out. San Diego. Yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. I think we're good, guys. Anything else?
All right.
Well, thanks for joining us this week. And a big shout out to our guest, Andre. Thanks for joining us as well. We'll be back next week at the same time, 4 p.m.
Same bad
Pacific.
time, same bad channel.
Yep, 7 p.m. Eastern. Hopefully, Mike will be feeling a little bit better, man. I hope
Sammy
you-
Sosa.
Yeah,
Sammy Sosa.
if you don't take some ivermectin, I'm gonna be kind of pissed at you.
Yeah, I
dude.
got all new meds, dude. All new
But
meds.
is one of them ivermectin?
You need
All
a
new
tapeworm
meds.
to kill the virus. Just get a tapeworm. You'll be fine.
all new meds.
This guy is crazy. Do not let him near your house. All right. Anyways, shout out to Elvis. Shout out to Mike. Shout out to all of our viewers. Like, subscribe. See you guys next week. Thanks, guys.
40,000 subs, baby. Thanks. Appreciate it.
40,000 subscribers. Woohoo!